Mariana, a young woman from the coastal town of Cascais, Portugal, was known for her unwavering faith. Raised in a devout Catholic family, Mariana's life revolved around her relationship with Jesus Christ. She found solace and purpose in her belief. Mariana felt a strong calling to share this faith with others. She became deeply involved in her local church. It wasn't long before Mariana began preaching. Her sermons, filled with passion and conviction, resonated with many. She had a natural charisma that drew people to her message. Mariana's commitment to evangelism went beyond the church walls. She believed it was her duty to spread the word of God. She wanted to save souls from eternal damnation. This mission became her life's focus. Mariana's dedication to Christianity was absolute. She saw the world through the lens of her faith. It was this unwavering belief that set the stage for her extraordinary journey. Driven by her evangelical mission, Mariana felt a deep sense of purpose. Her faith was her guiding light, and she believed it was her duty to spread the message of Christianity to those she deemed lost. Mariana turned her attention to what she saw as a new frontier: Islam. She had always been curious about other religions, but now her curiosity was driven by a desire to convert. She viewed Muslims as lost souls in need of salvation. To her, they were wandering in darkness, unaware of the true light that Christianity offered. Mariana believed it was her Christian duty to show them the path to true enlightenment. She prayed fervently, asking for guidance and strength to fulfill this mission. She began to research Islam, but her resources were limited to biased pamphlets and websites. These sources were filled with misinformation and negative portrayals. These materials portrayed Islam in a negative light. They painted a picture of a religion that was violent, oppressive, and fundamentally flawed. They often misrepresented its teachings, taking verses out of context and twisting them to fit a particular narrative. Mariana absorbed this skewed information, her heart hardening with each passing day. She became more determined, convinced that her mission was not just important but urgent. Armed with misinformation and fueled by religious zeal, she felt ready to take on the world. She saw herself as a warrior for Christ, ready to battle the forces of darkness. Mariana embarked on a mission to convert Muslims to Christianity. She approached people on the streets, in parks, and even outside mosques, trying to engage them in conversations about faith. She believed she was waging a spiritual war. Every conversation, every debate was a battle for souls. She spoke passionately, often quoting scripture and sharing her own testimony. Her goal was to save souls from what she perceived as a dangerous and false religion. She saw Islam as a threat, not just to individual souls, but to the world at large. Mariana approached this new challenge with the same unwavering conviction that she brought to all her evangelical work. She was meticulous in her preparations, organizing her materials and planning her approach. She was determined to succeed. Failure was not an option in her mind. She believed that with enough effort and faith she could make a difference. However, she was completely unprepared for the encounters that awaited her. The people she met were not what she expected. They were kind, knowledgeable, and deeply committed to their faith. These encounters would challenge everything she thought she knew. Mariana found herself questioning her own beliefs and the information she had been given. Her journey was just beginning, and it would take her to places she never imagined. Mariana's first interactions with the Muslim community were eye-opening. She organized outreach programs in neighborhoods with large Muslim populations. She expected resistance, anger, even hostility. What she found instead was something entirely unexpected: respect. She met young Muslims who were eager to engage in dialogue. They listened politely to her pronouncements about Christianity. But what surprised her most was their reverence for Jesus, whom they considered a prophet. This challenged her preconceived notions. These encounters left Mariana feeling deeply conflicted. She had entered this mission with a sense of superiority, yet the Muslims she met displayed a deep respect for her faith that she had not shown for theirs. The seeds of doubt were sown. Mariana had always believed in the absolute truth of her own religion. Now she began to question her assumptions. Could she have been mistaken about Islam? Section 4. A journey of discovery delving into Islamic texts. This section marks a pivotal point in Mariana's quest for understanding, a journey that would challenge her preconceptions and open her mind to new perspectives. Intrigued and unsettled by her encounters, Mariana decided to embark on a journey of genuine learning. She felt a deep need to explore beyond the surface, to dive into the depths of Islamic teachings and uncover the truths that lay hidden beneath layers of misunderstanding. She realized that her previous understanding of Islam had been based on prejudice, not knowledge. Her mind had been clouded by misconceptions and stereotypes, and she was determined to clear the fog and see the reality for herself. She wanted to learn about Islam from its source, not from those who denounced it. She sought the original texts, the words that had inspired millions over centuries to form her own informed opinions. So she began to read the Quran, the holy book of Islam. Each verse she read was a step closer to understanding a faith that had been shrouded in mystery for her. She also delved into the hadiths, collections of the Prophet Muhammad's sayings and teachings. These texts provided context and elaboration on the Quranic verses, offering a richer, more nuanced understanding of Islamic principles. As she immersed herself in these texts, Mariana was struck by their emphasis on peace, compassion, and social justice, values she cherished in her own faith. The teachings resonated with her deeply, challenging her to rethink her previous assumptions. She learned about Islam's emphasis on God's oneness, a concept that resonated with her own belief in a single all-powerful God. This fundamental principle of Tawhid, the oneness of God, was a cornerstone of Islamic theology, and it echoed her own spiritual convictions. She discovered the Islamic teachings on Jesus, his miraculous birth, his ministry, and his status as a revered prophet. This was a revelation to her, as she had always associated Jesus exclusively with Christianity. The more she learned, the more Mariana realized that Islam shared many commonalities with Christianity. The ethical teachings, the emphasis on charity, and the call to live a righteous life were strikingly similar. Her initial discomfort gave way to fascination as she began to see the beauty and wisdom within Islamic teachings. She found herself drawn to the profound spiritual insights and the rich cultural heritage that Islam offered. This journey of discovery was not just about learning a new religion, it was about expanding her horizons and embracing the diversity of human faith and experience. Section 5. Unveiling Truths, Quranic Verses, and a Shift in Perspective. As Mariana delved deeper into the Quran, certain verses struck her with the force of revelation. She'd always been curious about different religions, but her journey into the Quran was different. It was not just an academic exercise, it was a deeply personal exploration. Each verse she read seemed to peel away layers of misunderstanding and prejudice that she had unknowingly accumulated over the years.
Passages like, "There is no compulsion in religion," 2:256, challenged her previous belief that Islam was spread by force. This verse in particular made her pause and reflect. It was a stark contrast to the narratives she had been exposed to. The idea that faith should be a matter of personal choice and not coercion was revolutionary to her. It made her question the sources of her previous beliefs and the biases that had shaped her understanding. The Quran's emphasis on free will and personal choice resonated deeply with her. It was a theme that recurred throughout the text, reinforcing the idea that faith is a personal journey. Mariana found herself drawn to this concept, as it aligned with her own values of autonomy and self-determination. She began to see Islam not as a monolithic entity, but as a diverse and dynamic faith that valued individual agency.
The words of the Quran, "O people of the book, come to common terms as between us and you, that we worship none but God," 3-64, resonated deeply within her. This verse was an invitation to dialogue and mutual respect. It called for unity and understanding, not division and conflict. Mariana was moved by the inclusivity of this message. It was a call to find common ground, to focus on shared beliefs rather than differences. This call for unity and understanding between Christians and Muslims touched her heart. She had always believed in the importance of interfaith dialogue, but the Quran gave her a new perspective on it. It was not just about tolerance, it was about genuine respect and appreciation for each other's faiths. Mariana felt a sense of kinship with Muslims that she had never felt before. It was as if the Quran was building bridges where there had once been walls.
It highlighted the common ground between the two faiths. Mariana began to see the similarities between Christianity and Islam rather than focusing on the differences. Both faiths emphasized compassion, justice, and the worship of one God. This realization was a turning point for her. It made her more open to learning about Islam and more willing to engage in meaningful conversations with Muslims. Mariana was particularly moved by the Quran's descriptions of Jesus. She had always revered Jesus as a central figure in her own faith, and finding him honored in the Quran was both surprising and comforting. It was a reminder that the two religions shared more than she had previously thought.
She read about his miraculous birth, his teachings of love and forgiveness, and his ascension to heaven. These stories were familiar to her, but seeing them in the Quran gave them a new dimension. It was as if she was rediscovering Jesus through a different lens. The Quran's portrayal of Jesus was respectful and reverent, which deepened her appreciation for the text. The Quran affirmed Jesus' virgin birth and his miracles, honoring him as a great prophet. This acknowledgement of Jesus' significance was a powerful moment for Mariana. It bridged the gap between her Christian beliefs and her newfound understanding of Islam. She realized that the two faiths were not as incompatible as she had once thought.
These revelations shook Mariana to her core. They challenged her preconceived notions and opened her eyes to a new way of thinking. She felt a profound sense of humility and gratitude. The Quran was not just a religious text, it was a source of wisdom and guidance that transcended cultural and religious boundaries. The Islam she was discovering was not the Islam she had been taught to fear. It was a faith that valued peace, compassion, and submission to God. These were values that she held dear as a Christian, and finding them in the Quran was a revelation. It made her question the stereotypes and misconceptions that had influenced her views.
It was a religion of peace, compassion, and submission to God, values that she held dear as a Christian. Mariana found solace in this realization. It was as if she had found a kindred spirit in the Quran. The more she read, the more she felt a sense of connection and understanding. It was a journey of discovery that enriched her faith and broadened her horizons. The walls of prejudice that she had built around her heart began to crumble. She felt a sense of liberation and enlightenment. The Quran had not only changed her perspective on Islam, but had also deepened her own faith.